have a theory that chronic degenerative conditions, and it's a category in which you classify most mental health disorders, have been significantly influenced by environmental changes, which are leading to these chronic low-grade systemic inflammation. One of the terms that I've seen and I've heard you use is a meta-inflammation. Can you summarize what these environmental factors are and also give us a little bit of more detail into what meta-inflammation is and how it impacts the brain?
My mantra has been over the years a personalized treatment for the most personal of all illnesses. No one suffers like those who have mental illness, depression, anxiety, you name it, right? Bipolar, mood disorders, and degenerative disorders, Alzheimer's, early dementias. Okay. And so while I want a personalized treatment, at the same time, I got to have some pegboard onto which to place new data as it comes in. And one of the most useful pegboards, and I'm calling it my unifying theory of mental illness and diseases of civilization, would be this metainflammation kind of notion. And it stems from the converging lines of evidence that suggest strongly, support, prove perhaps even, that chronic degenerative conditions, diseases of civilization, including most mental disorders, have been rising now steadily for quite some time, and they have overtaken infections as the leading cause of death and illness. Now, I know that we're living in the COVID and the pandemic. Even with the COVID, it's not really the infection that kills us, but our own body's idiosyncratic, overly, I guess, exuberant immune reaction to the stimulus, in this case, a virus, right, that is actually killing us. And it's the same kind of process then. Regardless of what that stimulus is, could be an infection, but it could be many other things, and we'll cover that. Right? It leads to the same common final pathway, which is decreased gut microbial diversity. There, I said it, right? That's that intestinal hyperpermeability. And then you get this flooding of inflammation, and this is bidirectional, mind you. And then on around a kind of a circular pattern where if you got inflammation in the gut, you soon have inflammation in the brain. Anyhow, this epidemiological transition from infections that used to kill us before the Civil War, that's what did kill us, right? Is because we had no antibiotics, we had no really sanitation. But since then, it's really not been infections. In fact, there's only one place in the world where infections are more likely to kill you than these chronic, smoldering, inflammatory-based diseases of civilization, and that's sub-Saharan desert regions. Every place else, these are the big killers. And we think that that epidemiological transition is due to those environmental changes that had conferred disease liability on genetic profiles that historically have been benign. Okay, we think that that transition is associated with that low-grade chronic systemic meta-inflammation, not the big hit, right? If a lion comes and bites you on the arm, you're going to have a bunch of injury, but it's that 1,000 little cuts, that meta-inflammation that takes place over many, many days, months, years, decades, perhaps, that leads to that slow rot of pretty much any of our organ systems. We also think that much of that chronic inflammation starts in the gut, and then once it gets to the gut, it gets to your brain, hence all of my disorders. Now, also, we think that this inflammation causes myriad perturbations in that psychoneuroimmunological set of parameters, neurotransmitters, hormones, growth factors, immune reactivity. And mainstream medicine is not thinking that way, but I measure those things as often as I can, right? I need some measure of your inflammation. I look at neurotransmitters. I look at adrenal output. I look at growth factors. I look at all kinds of things, right? And so I think that's what I've added to my practice of giving you medication, which I still like and value and do every single day, but I like to combine these various approaches.